Some things have disappeared. Our hopes, dreams, and passion. Seems like all we have now is anxiety and fear. But no matter what happens, no matter how challenging it gets, we'll have to see it through. Medlife Protect Plus, protection from medical bills and life's uncertainties. We know we can never go back, but we'll find a way forward. Medlife Protect Plus. Brave the new world.
Are you thinking of buying a new car that's fuel efficient and environmentally conscious? Why not get a hybrid? During your car search, you've probably come across the term XEV. This stands for Hybrid and Electric Vehicle, pertaining to a range of technologies that use electricity to propel a vehicle. XEVs include hybrid electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, battery electric vehicles, and fuel cell electric vehicles. For this video, we'll focus on the hybrid electric vehicle. A hybrid is the most ideal for your first switch to an eco-friendly car because it is the closest to the regular combustion engine vehicles we're used to. Here's how it works. An HEV uses both internal combustion engine and electronic motors that work together to make your car run in the most fuel-efficient way possible. The internal combustion engine runs on fuel and creates kinetic energy that puts the car into motion and charges the batteries of the vehicle. These batteries don't ever need to be plugged in, which means that an electric vehicle won't take a toll on your electric bill, and you never have to scramble for a charging station. HEV batteries and their management system are durable and smart, which means that not only is the battery designed to last the lifetime of the car, but it also knows to shut off when it comes contact with water. Contrary to popular belief, HEVs do not require special maintenance. Just like any other car, make sure not to miss your HEV's period maintenance and routine checkups to make sure everything stays in tip-top shape. The HEV management system works like a brain, telling the vehicle where to send and get power to save energy for better fuel efficiency. So, as you drive, the power source may switch from your engine to your batteries to save on fuel. When you need extra power, like when speeding or going uphill, your vehicle may turn both motors on. When you are idle, like when stuck in traffic, the vehicle may shut both motors off to save even more energy. This toggling between motors not only saves energy but also helps reduce the CO2 emissions and thus greenhouse gases. This means that you don't have to worry about running out of juice while you're on the road. A hybrid electric vehicle truly brings together everything you want in a car: on-demand power, improved fuel efficiency, fuel savings, lower CO2 emissions, and a smooth and quiet driving experience. All these in one awesome vehicle. So, hop in a Toyota hybrid electric vehicle and drive the future.
Abadilla Power has been driving change for a better world. It's been a long and challenging road, but with every step forward, we've made sure the businesses and communities we serve have been able to grow and flourish. We envision a world where vibrant communities have built their homes and businesses in a thriving environment. To make that world a reality, we are committed to serving the people by providing a reliable power supply at a reasonable and competitive price, while taking on the responsibility for the growth, wellness, and prosperity of the environment and the many communities that rely on us. Over the many decades we've been around, we've watched the world shift and change, and our success to this point has come, in part, from our constant desire to grow and innovate. The adoption of newer, more efficient, and more effective technologies in the name of progress is a part of who we are and why we're here to stay. Here at Abadilla Power, we greatly respect the value and importance of the environment, clean energy, Our brand for renewable energy sources has become a significant part of our operations, and we continue to be on the lookout for opportunities in the renewable energy space while seeking ways to preserve and enrich the environment. We've long since recognized the incredible potential for kindness, compassion, and community in the millions of lives we've touched over our centuries-long journey. We take great pride in the care and service we provide to these people. To see their communities thriving is our greatest joy and success. Aboid is power, driving change for a better world.
The Philippine Daily Inquirer would like to thank the following sponsors for making this live stream event possible. Aboitis, a better future. BPI, ready today, ready tomorrow. Coca-Cola Beverages Philippines Inc., sustainable operations making a difference across a total beverage company. Citi. Medicard, prescribed by doctors. Toyota. We'd also like to acknowledge the organizations that have partnered with us. Thank you to... We'd also like to thank Inquirer.net, Mega Mobile, and Inquirer Academy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Inquirer Project Rebound webinar series presented by the Philippine Daily Inquirer. My name is Royale, and with me is Tina Dumlao, Inquirer Business Editor, who will be my co-moderator for this live stream event. The Philippine Daily Inquirer and its sister companies introduced Project Rebound in the desire to empower Filipinos amidst these difficult times and to do its part in helping our economy bounce back. We have been doing this by sharing insights from experts and success stories that are meant to inspire others to recover and to move. This to thrive. This is also why we are here today. To know more about Project Rebound, let's watch this video.
Hey, thank you. And this afternoon, our topic is green growth, securing a sustainable future, which is very timely considering the ongoing COP26 in Glasgow. And we want to know today from our panelists why or how Philippine corporations can contribute to mitigating the effect of climate change. Rui?
Before we introduce our guests, we would like to give an exclusive offer to our viewers. You can get a free 30-day trial of the Philippine Daily Inquirer's digital edition, Inquirer Plus. We are flashing the details on your screen so you can see how to get this free trial. You can also visit shop.inquirer.com.ph to know more about Inquirer Plus.
Okay, and so now we've come to the time to introduce our guests for today's session. Our first speaker is Chitwan. Chit is a sustainability advocate, a social entrepreneur, coffee crusader, and an advocate for women empowerment through business. She has started many businesses, and among them, a coffee shop chain, a Filipino quick service restaurant, a farm-to-table restaurant, and a natural and organic store called Eco Store, which she founded in 2008, way before other green businesses came about in the Philippines. She's also the president and co-chair of the Philippine Coffee Board, Inc., promoting Philippine coffee here and abroad. Also, a very good friend of mine and a partner through Good News Kapiyan. Good afternoon, Chit.
Hi, good afternoon, Tina and Royale and my co-panelists. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you, Chit. Now we have our next speaker, Vicky Abad. Vicky Abad is the country manager in the Philippines for Ipsos, a leading global research company. Vicky has more than 30 years of experience in the market research industry, enabling her to lead Ipsos in transformational growth initiatives aimed at strengthening the company's market position in the Philippines. Prior to joining Ipsos, Vicky held key leadership positions across several market research agency organizations. Apart from her agency work, Vicky also had 12 years of client experience working with companies like San Miguel Food Group and Splash Marketing Corporation, where she took on lead roles in the areas of marketing research and information sciences, corporate planning, and new product development. Good afternoon, Vicky.
Unmute. Good afternoon. Thank you for that introduction, Roel. I'm very happy to be part of this afternoon's discussion on securing sustainable future as part of Inquirer's Project Rebound. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Vicky. And finally, our third speaker is Manny Blas. Manny is the Vice President of Ayala Land, Inc. and the Head of Corporate Services for the Estates Group, handling sustainability, urban planning, marketing, and HR. Previously, Manny held the position of Estate Group Head for Makati and the Bonifacio Global City, which are examples of Ayala Land's sustainable urban planning. Good afternoon, Manny.
Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, and thank you for this opportunity to share our thoughts and to learn from others in this important sustainability subject.
Okay, so I guess we could start from where you ended, Manny, and just a question for all three of you, considering COP26 as our background. How do you see the Philippine economy moving forward and significantly, particularly on sustainability? Do you think we have a space to think about that, considering how low we came last year, and we're seeing some growth so far, but how do we fit the two for 2022 and for this year? Maybe you could start with Manny. We'll go
back. Okay. Well, all crises come to an end. That's what we believe. If you look at our history, when we had the political crisis during the 1980s and the financial crisis in the 1990s, those were all characterized by a sudden drop in economic activity, but also a dramatic rebound afterwards. So we have this perspective in mind that, yes, when you're in the middle of the crisis, you're bewildered, but now you know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and just like all previous crises, things will bounce back. But I think the topic for this afternoon is more existential than this crisis. It really talks about the impact of climate change, and climate change. That's an ongoing crisis, and it's the most challenging thing that we've ever faced not only as a country but as a planet. So my answer really is, we don't have any choice but to mix and to combine our initiatives to grow and bounce back from the pandemic, as well as while doing that we continue to exercise sustainability initiatives in our operations. We're talking about the new normal. This is the new normal, that we take into consideration our impact on the environment while we build our business.
Okay, thank you, Manny. I'll follow up on that with you, Chit, because we I remember we started, like for Good News Kapian at that time, sustainability was just a very vague or a very esoteric topic at the time, no? But do you think with the pandemic and then what happened this year and then COP26, do you think that that's no longer just a word? It's really something that's embedded now in business.
Thanks for that. Well, as a small business owner, we actually in 2008 already appended sustainable in our name, no? Eco Store Sustainable Lifestyle, because we thought then that even small businesses should think about sustainability, and it really starts with ourselves. It starts with what we do every day, and then it starts from ourselves, our community, and then, of course, to the LGUs. And the pandemic just sort of like put it on fast forward. People thinking about, how do I become sustainable? People already know the spelling of sustainable. It used to be so difficult to spell. We didn't even have a local word for it. We didn't know how to translate it, to explain the concept to, let's say, small producers and people of different dialects. No? But now I think COVID just did, it catapulted sustainability to the front burner, if you will. And now everybody has to think about, how will I be sustainable? How will my home, my family, and finally my business be sustainable? So I think the pandemic helped put it there in front.
Okay, I'll follow up on that later. But first with Vicky, since you're in research, do you think that is, would you agree with my at least perception, that sustainability, in fact, or economic growth, green growth, those are not concepts anymore, but really there and important to consumers? Do you think it will figure into what consumers are going to, how they're going to decide their purchasing decisions going forward?
Okay. Well, firstly, I want to talk about the fact that definitely 2022, no, where everyone is actually ready and committed to go back to growth, no, so rebounding to recovery. That's very much in the minds of people, no, and I agree with Ms. Cheat, no, in terms of the word sustainability, because we struggled with security of supply, even food security, no, for most of our countrymen. Then really it became a reality for us to think about, how do I ensure that there's sustainability on the things I need and require on a daily basis, no? So I think that those two things really came to light, no, when we had the pandemic. Now, in terms of how important it is to consumers, we have survey that actually showed that in the latter part of 2022 up to early 2021, no, it became less relatively important to a lot of consumers, no, because of course there's a lot of prioritization for more important issues. So when they were thinking about government and business, no, they were looking for like the importance of keeping everyone safe from COVID, no. So that was like at the top of their considerations, making sure they have a source of employment, their jobs, no, their security, healthcare, no. So a lot of those things ranked higher in terms of importance. And admittedly, no, less than 10% in one of our later reads of the people were actually concerned about sustainability, no, in its broad sense, no. And that doesn't make it less important or no longer important, because we also said them confirming that while COVID did not change the threats, no, of that threaten our life here in the planet, no, but the reality is that the minds of consumers shifted.
Okay, Ru?
Yes. Our next question, to take off from where Manny mentioned it earlier, how do we combine the needs to address climate change and at the same time ensure that our economic engine will run, given the need to recover the massive losses due to the pandemic? So let's start off with Manny.
Thank you, Royale. Well, as mentioned, it is imperative that we combine economic recovery with sustainable initiatives. I came across a statement that says, business as usual is no longer applicable. It is now economically risky and socially unacceptable. So economically risky because more and more our customers are demanding that we become sustainable companies, or our operations take initiatives towards decarbonization. Even our investors, those that we refer to as ESG investors, who are the environmental, social, and governance towards prioritizing their investors towards companies that prioritize these things. They are prioritizing their funding towards companies that are taking sustainability initiatives. So both from the investor side as well as from the customer side, there is that pressure. So I don't really see how we can segregate those two topics. I mean, when we look at the COP26 goal of net zero by 2050, first of all, it's wrong for us to see it as 30 years away, because the impact of climate change does not happen January 2050, right? I mean, it's getting worse now. It will get worse in 2030 onwards, and then it will get even worse in 2040 onwards if we don't do anything about it. And I think the people who are watching this seminar, including us panelists, there's a very strong likelihood that all of us will still be around during that decade leading to 2050. And so we will experience it. And certainly our children will experience it. That this is a very, it's a very real thing now. This is no longer just a hypothesis or or a possibility, which is why I think small companies like, what Chit was referring to, and large companies really have to take, have to set a goal. And it's not just taking initiatives and being more environmental friendly in our operations, but really setting a goal that says, by such and such date, our carbon footprint has to be of a certain level, because then that goal, will drive all the other initiatives of that company in serving the customers and stakeholders that it has. I can talk more about that, but I think it begins there, that we each set, a goal of how much our company and our operations will contribute to decarbonization.
Thank you, Manny. Vicky, from a marketing research perspective, what do you think about that need to strike that balance? How do we do it exactly?
Definitely very important, no? And it's really something that we should all work towards, no? Now, our data tells us that actually 89% of Filipinos say that we are really heading for environmental disaster, no? Unless we change our habits quickly. So we know that people are growing in terms of their understanding, growing in terms of their awareness of the issues that face us, no? And 42% of Philippine citizens actually see climate change as a top 5 risk to the society significantly in the next 5 to 10 years, no? So clearly in the minds of even our consumers, no, this is really growing in importance. However, we do have what we call the think and do gap. No, so the think and do gap, it actually talks about the difference of what we know to be good and true and how we behave according to it. No, so I think this is also an area that our leaders need to be mindful of. No, how do we make sure that in winning over the consumers for their mass support, we don't only change their minds about it, but we actually also encourage their behaviors to also shift and change.
Thank you, Vicky. As a champion of MSMEs, and in your very name, the Eco Store, Chit, what do you think about the balance that is required here?
I see more and more people shifting to better versions of their businesses. In other words, like kami, we may have closed stores in the malls, but we're going out to the country. Diba? So it used to be called farm to table, and it was so sexy. From the farm, you're eating the salad. Ngayon, dapat table to farm. Okay, let's all go back. And everybody is looking for that fresh air. Everybody is looking, and I'm sure Manny will agree with me that even in Ayala Land, I'm sure they see more people being dispersed in terms of investment, in terms of just wanting, I not a few friends of mine, that means ang dami nila, who ask me, where can I buy property? Maliit lang, gusto ko lang magka-farm. I want to do mushrooms. These people were very comfortable in corporate jobs. They could go to El Nido or anytime. But now, they're thinking of something, parang na-accept na nila. They're able to accept that it's not gonna be the same. We have to think of a family rest house. We have to think of somewhere to go. Wala tayong probinsya, So the small unit, like the family, is already making plans. So as companies do targets, families also have goals. So families now are more and more are thinking about living in the suburbs. And there's nothing nice anymore about being in a condo during a lockdown. So the best place is actually being out there, and that's changing people's mindsets and people's goals.
Thank you.
Actually, I could. The third question is related to that, Chitno, about changing consumer preferences. I know Vicky said earlier about medyo na put into the back burner because COVID was a primary concern. But now that we're already alert level 2 and probably we'll have alert level 1 before the end of the year. But do you see consumer preferences changing permanently as a response to COVID, and also as a response to definitely we see more severe and more frequent natural disasters because of climate change? So are consumers going to really make the decision and show companies, punish the bad companies by not buying their products, for example? Maybe I could start with Chit since you ended there.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to say, why business models are changing? It's because during the pandemic, the lockdowns, the different Qs, ECQs, MECQ, the farmer found the consumer directly. The consumer found the farmer. They had a direct line via technology. They were on the shopping platforms. So the role of the distributor has changed very much over the last 20 months. And I can say consumers are not just thinking about it, but their habits have changed. You're now buying directly from a baker. You're buying directly from a seafood guy who actually got it from his fish pond instead of you going to the supermarket. So I believe that these changes, although we don't consider it like there's a clear dividing line, the times just blurred into like a continuum where your habit you didn't realize had changed already over the last few months. So I would like to also bounce that off Vicky, because consumer preferences in surveys and consumer preference as practiced, are they in agreement?
Yes,
So-
I'm also asking.
Okay, go
Yeah.
Vicky. Answer both of our
Yes.
questions.
So as I said earlier, there's this concept of say and do. So definitely, we have to win on both platforms. So say is definitely our mindsets, and that has really shifted, in terms of our brand preference, our habits, as you mentioned, in terms of how we buy and where we buy. So all of that really has been affected by the changes that were forced upon us. Now, do is another thing. Do is closer to the realities of their circumstances. So while you are seeing a lot of people where we are gaining traction in terms of support for, say, local products, that's really something that is really still evolving. So a lot of people are there with you already. Others are still shifting towards that direction. So what is very clear is that consumers have been made aware of the changes that are also something that also has to happen to their lives, no, and being adjusted also, no. So as you mentioned, the connection of our farmers, no, to our consumers, that's definitely a very healthy development, and it's good for us, good for small businesses, good for consumers as well, no, because we go back to basics, and the freshness of the products we're able to enjoy. So again, consumers are adapting, definitely, no, that's what we see. They are seeing the value of natural, back to basics, local, no, all of this, no. So it's really just a matter of making sure that the full cycle, no, of them having access to it is enabled also by our suppliers and manufacturers.
Okay. How about for thanks, Vicky. Manny, how about for Ayala Land? Did you have to change your development plans over the past year? I mean, suddenly you see the same malls having more outdoor space. Biglang nagkaroon ng alfresco dining when they didn't used to have before. Did you have to change, for example, to respond to changing consumer preferences for Ali as a whole?
Well, yes, I think the pandemic really forced all companies to adapt, no? And as you mentioned, Tina, the outdoor dining suddenly became a thing, and not only in BGC, where it's an outdoor mall to begin with, but even in Makati, we converted a lot of our streets into outdoor dining. We would close them over the weekends, like Rada Street, for example, and everybody's happy. The ground floor retail operators were happy. The customers who lived in the residential buildings around it were also happy, and a lot more people really flocked and activated our streets, which is what we want as a developer. But even research, I think, and Vicky, I know you can cite a lot more statistics on this, but I came across the statistics that 75% of millennials will pay more for products that are sustainable or from companies that practice sustainability practices. And I think that research is mostly for fast-moving consumer goods, but I don't see why it would not apply on real estate products, such as those provided by Ayala Land. I do want to share one anecdote regarding consumer perception and desire for sustainability practices. And it's what our president, Bobby D, shared. When Ayala Land in 2017 launched a goal that says in 5 years' time, or 2022, we would be carbon neutral for all of our commercial properties. And commercial properties would refer to malls, offices, hotels, and resorts. No? So we did not include the entire operation, but a good chunk of our operation. We said we wanted to be carbon neutral by a certain date, which, by the way, were forecasted to hit, in fact, by this year, and as well as by next year. But the story he said was, we set this goal because it's the right thing to do. I mean, whether the consumer perception was there or not, it was the right thing to do because climate change is an existential issue. The second thing that he shared was, his children were telling him, he says, Dad, you got to do something about this. I mean, you guys are, you're a big company, you would have impact. You have to do something. So that anecdote just rings in my mind very often, that it's the people around us who are saying we have to do something now. And large corporations, as well as government and civic society, we do have that responsibility. We cannot run away from it. I think 10 years ago we could have, because 2050 is 40 years away, but now it's just one generation away. So yeah, so in answer to the question, I think the customer, the consumer, they're very aware of sustainability, and they demand that we take action on it.
Thank you, Manny. Ru?
Thank you, everyone, for sharing your thoughts with us. If you're watching and you have questions, feel free to send them in, and we'll ask our panelists to answer them for you. Before we continue with the next part of our program, we will take a short break. So stay tuned for more.
Our love was so beautiful, nothing could tear us apart. A picture of forever and promises made from the heart. But memories fade as time slips away. Where does that leave me and you? Tell me how to love you with no more regrets. I'll cherish these moments I'll never forget.
I'll take you there one day.
Promise?
Promise.
I will always remember for us. So tell me how to love you with no more regrets. Now cherish these moments, the memories you'll never forget. The memories you'll never.
I may sometimes forget you here, but never here.
The memories you'll never forget.
Every bottle matters. The journey of plastics goes on and on. When it's reused, recycled, reimagined, and reborn. This is the future of sustainable packaging in the Philippines. As we build the country's largest state-of-the-art bottle-to-bottle recycling facility. A pioneering technology that takes us one step closer to a world without waste. Made possible by one of the world's leading green technology ventures and the world's biggest beverage company. Every bottle matters. We bring you Pet Value, the Philippines' largest bottle-to-bottle recycling facility. Operational by 2022.
The Philippine Daily Inquirer would like to thank the following sponsors for making this live stream event possible. Aboitiz, a better future. BPI, ready today, ready tomorrow. Coca-Cola Beverages Philippines Inc., sustainable operations making a difference across a total beverage company. City. Medicard, prescribed by doctors. Toyota. We'd also like to acknowledge the organizations that have partnered with us. Thank you to. We'd also like to thank Inquirer.net, Mega Mobile, and Inquirer Academy.
Hello, everyone. Thank you once again for tuning in to the Inquirer Project Rebound webinar series presented by the Philippine Daily Inquirer. Moving on to the last part of our ongoing discussion, we have questions waiting to be answered. Let's start off with this one. This one can be answered by anyone. This question is from the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, or the PDRF. The question is, what are the greatest challenges for implementing green initiatives in the Philippines? Who would like to take on this challenge? Manny.
Royale, if I may. I think cost is always a challenge. When we embarked on the carbon neutral goal in 2017, it required that we switch to renewable energy, and switch from coal power to renewable energy. And at that time, renewable energy had about a 12% premium versus regular coal power energy. It's much lower than that now. But when you embark on something like that, you say, okay, it may cost us a premium, but we believe in a certain objective, so we go for it. So, but cost is always going to be there, because these initiatives, they don't even come as cost neutral. They usually come at a premium. The other challenge is for us to hit this, the COP26 carbon zero goal. You need new technologies to develop that will decarbonize a lot of the things that we're using and that we are doing. For a property developer like Ayala Land, 70% of our carbon that's emitted in construction, okay, 70% of that comes from cement and steel. So there has to be new technologies that cement industries and the steel industry would have to come up with in order to drastically reduce the carbon content of those materials, so that we would be able to hit that goal. And third, I think, is the challenge of regulations. I mean, our government and our civic society and industries have to come together and really collaborate, so that everyone is forced to really take on climate change initiatives. So those are the three things that come to my mind. I think cost, and then the demand for new technologies, and then really binding together and collaborating together are the main challenges.
Anyone else who'd like to answer that question?
If I can take a stab at it from the consumer perspective, I think in terms of the challenge, for these initiatives, from a consumer standpoint, it would really be communication. So how do we make or plant a deeper sense of what's in it for me, for consumers? Like if you talk carbon, right? And you and yes, we are, part of our vision is that consumers will pay a premium for those that are using sustainable materials, or efforts of the company to move towards carbon-free operations and all that. But at the end of it, consumers have to have a certain level of understanding of what these initiatives, what are the benefits it has for them. So as you know, we have different age groups, economic classes. All of that creates diversity in our understanding of a lot of this. Yes, we trust businesses. Consumers trust businesses to do what's best for the environment, to do what's best for them as consumers. But often these are not stories that we're able to elaborate and talk about. So I think it's part of why we engage with clients also, for us to give them a better understanding of where consumers are coming from, and how do we best communicate or link up to them in terms of our messaging. So I think we also have to reframe our messaging about our initiatives on sustainability to be more relevant post-pandemic. Like we could, for example, we talked about sustainability. So again, we could touch on supply security in terms of the consumers, because for now we know that they have fears about security, fears about supply gaps. So the more they understand that, then the more sustainability becomes an easier concept for them to accept and even to pay a premium for. So I mean, just as a personal anecdote as well, choosing a real estate property, for example, one developer versus another, certainly we have considerations like you might think of location, prices, amenities and all that. Maybe that's what an average buyer, consumer, may be thinking about. But a premium, for example, for an Ayala property, talking about like how the sewage system is built, in such a way that there's advantage to consumers. Those kinds of stories actually really give more understanding to consumers, and allow us to appreciate those initiatives of our manufacturers.
Okay. Ako naman,
Yes.
I want to suggest doable things. I always like to, parang a lot of small things lead to something, a big impact. For example, when you say, oh, plant a tree. Well, at least now, the BOI requires new investors or new companies that have foreign investment to plant trees. I know about it because of a company of ours that wanted to plant trees because they were looking for coffee trees and all that, because it's a requirement of the BOI. So maganda yan. Parang the Bibingka model is the top is saying you must plant trees. So it's a requirement. Second, of course, companies, parang those who have CSR in their veins are the same people who are conscious about ESG, are the same people who are conscious about sustainability. Diba? Alam na natin yun. So if the CEO leads it, top down, the whole organization will toe the line. Okay, now, what do we do about the people who think that sustainability is only for big companies or for big budgets, ganyan? One, you can do it at home. Change your, naka-aircon ka ba? Change it to inverter aircons. Change your toilets to low water flush toilets. May mga gano'n. In your own little way. On Monday ngayon, let it be a meatless Monday. Hindi kasi makonect ng tao that if you eat less meat, and that means, for example, 10 million people will not eat meat on Monday, we will need less cows, which are the biggest methane producers in the world. Hindi na ma-relate by just having a meatless Monday, you have already helped. Or how to save on water. Diba? Or save on water and then buying local. Oh, why? Bakit kailangan local? Because you need less gas. And ngayon, pati LPG mataas, people are like so conscious even about maybe they'll have more salads because even LPG has risen to, the prices have skyrocketed. I mean, I felt it, LPG, and then diesel and gas. So with all of this, you start to rethink, you start thinking. So yun yung bottom, and then the top is really the big corporations that's taking the lead, that has the communications budget, and people like you in media who will always talk about this daily habits, like plant a tree and you will be assured of a shade for life. Parang ganon.
Tina. Okay. Tina, you're on mute.
Ask about greenwashing. In relation to what you said about consumers, because that's also one concern, that because consumers are willing to punish or to pay a premium, greenwashing is the next issue now. Parang it's more talk than it is real. So we can start with Chit. Do you see it? Is it real? Kumbaga, is it authentic? These moves by corporations, big and small, to be environment conscious or climate change mitigators?
Well, number one, I think you have to check naman if they walk the talk. No, of course, there's going to be greenwashing. The same with anything good that's done. Even CSR becomes marketing or is handled by the marketing department. Where did you see CSR under marketing? Kasi cost-oriented marketing siya, di ba? So, will there be a lot of greenwashing? I think so. Yung compliance, I think so. But you can count on the next generation. What does this mean? The Gen Z or the one next to the millennials are the ones who personally have it in their agenda. who have it in their personal agenda, and we are counting that they will be the people that Ipsos will soon talk to, because they will change the theme, they will change the mindset. But I think, as Manny mentioned also, we're waiting for that next generation to turn the tide. No? But we have to prepare for it. We have to make things cheaper. Organic should be cheaper. Renewable energy should be cheaper. It should be accessible. So tayo, ang work natin is to prepare them by making it affordable. Making affordable choices of shifting to greener ways.
Okay. Thanks, Chet. What do you think, Vicky?
So I think it's also an evolution, no? So initially, there was a lot of doing this, for doing social good, part of your company mission and all that. But now I think more and more we see it as really a business imperative na. So almost like a way to survive, no, in the future. So I think it's also evolving. So what's important is that you're prepared for the long haul, no? And that's also an area where we work with our clients, because it's easy to just get yourself started, no, and then not have the level of commitment that it actually requires, because that's where it all it could be flushed down the toilet if it's not something that you will persevere over, right? And you will really enable every member of your organization to be able to support it and demonstrate it with authenticity. So that's important.
Okay, thanks, Manny. Final word to you.
I agree with both Chit and Vicky. You can do greenwashing, but eventually it catches up on you, and people will see through you. And whether it's this generation or the next generation, people will know who are authentic and who are just greenwashing for show. And I just wish that all the efforts that go into greenwashing went into actual efforts of decarbonization. It would be a little better world.
That's true. Ru?
Thanks, Tina. Manny mentioned this earlier, so I'll start with him on this one. How do we exactly adjust our current operations with the projected objectives of COP26?
Okay. I think, first of all, COP26 is not starting from scratch. There's a lot of, it's already the 26th meeting of the party. So a lot of work has been done before. 197 countries have ratified the Paris Agreement. 49% of the world's GDP are covered by net zero targets. So half have at least set net zero targets. The COP26 goal is to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees by 2050. We used to hear 2 degrees. They're saying, no, 2 degrees is too much. It has to be 1.5 degrees by 2050. And if we're going to achieve the 2050 goal, COP26 is also saying by 2030, we should have reduced our greenhouse emissions by 50%. So there's an interim goal. Okay, so there are those two goals, the 2030 interim goals. Whatever you're doing, reduce it by 50%, your emissions, so that by 2050, we have a fighting chance of achieving net zero. If those are the COP26 goals, then each company has to then say, okay, how can I align my operations, my goals with those objectives? For Ayala Land, I spoke earlier about setting a goal of in 2017, so that by 2022 we will be carbon neutral for all of our commercial properties. We have an interim goal for that 2030. We will be carbon neutral for all of our properties. Not just the commercial, but the non-commercial, which includes our construction activities. And by the way, just for the sake of the other people who are listening to us, they may not know about scope 1, 2, and 3. So when we talk about carbon neutrality by 2030, we're talking about scopes 1 and 2, not scope 3. Scope 1 are mostly fuels like diesel. Scope 2 is mostly electricity, which will replace with renewable energy. Scope 3 is really the carbon in the materials that we use, the one that I referred to earlier about cements and steel. That is where we need help. And all construction, 70% of their carbon emission is cement and steel. That's where we need new technology so that by 2050, we would be able to hit the net zero goal. But short answer to the question is, then each company has to just align itself with those two goals, 2030 and 2050 goal.
Chit, would you like to chime in on that?
Yes. It's interesting that just to give you an anecdote, coffee is grown in tropical countries, between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, where Italy is not. Okay, Italy is temperate. But do you know that Italy just produced 30 kilos of coffee? Nakakatakot. In other words, climate change is happening. Shifting weather patterns. For Italy, who used to be just an importer and roaster of coffee, can now grow coffee. So it is, that 1.5 degrees, they're saying it's even too late already because the weather has changed. I think yung sinasabi natin na communication, it must be communicated to people that the reason why there is a flood is because of this. They can't relate it. They just think we're a floody country, but they don't know that the floods are now coming at odd times. So if you ask a farmer will understand because the farmer can no longer read the weather and the farmer can no longer read climate patterns because they have really gone haywire. They've changed. So I think to achieve this, we need a lot of communication to a person, each and every person who can make that difference. Not just, it is an imperative, yes, but not just companies, but individuals must understand the connections between climate change and their daily life. So kailangan natin ma-interpret, and we must involve small businesses because there's a lot of small businesses that still will not do it because they think it's only for the big.
Do you want to add to that?
So I guess some of the headlines I read about the COP26 initiative is really that, there are strong general sentiments, positive sentiments around it, but there's a lot of details underneath that are missing. So they say, so it's a question of who's going to do what kind of initiative. But I agree so much with Ms. Cheat that if you want the support of the masses or the consumers or the citizens, it's really about us understanding really, how this impacts our personal lives, and for me personally, when I started seeing the news of Singapore being flooded, Paris being flooded, New York being flooded, this is exactly that truth, that really something is shifting within the planet, so these are areas which used to not be vulnerable to flooding, but now they're in that same circumstance, and again linking that back to the information that actually has we often overlook, in terms of the connection between this and that change, and the reality of the daily choices that we make, for our lives or the products that we use. So again, boils down to communication.
Thank you, Tina.
Because it's elections next year, and a new set of policymakers will be there. So I was wondering, from your point of view, what would be a law, or what would if you had a wish list, what would that be for the next government or for the candidates for next year? What do you want them to champion or to push forward if we are going to make climate change or the 1.5, if we're going to meet that, any chance of meeting that, should they prioritize, you think? Chit, I'll start with you. So wish list for 2022.
I think wish list is that the politician understands climate change. I mean, not just lip service, but to really understand how is it actually affecting your life, sir or ma'am. Diba? And how will you translate that so that the smallest person, even in the laylayan, will understand climate change. No, people are talking about excise taxes and removing it and all that, but nobody has addressed, I'm going to help the COP26 goal of 1.5 degrees through the following. So I think we also have to communicate to the candidates.
Okay.
That's my wish list.
Vicky, how about you?
Yeah, so again, we talked earlier about say and do, no? So I think here we talk first about say, no? What are the priorities of the leaders that are incoming in 2022? Because again, you have to understand, you have to know about these issues and make this as a priority, because obviously there are 10,000 other problems to be solved. But again, how much commitment is there, no, to be able to say that this is as much a priority, even just the search of a new technology for alternate sources of energy, no? Those are studies that we need financing and need follow through, no? So again, even if the doing does not happen in this generation, are we in fact taking steps to understand it better, and what we can do better forward is a key wish list.
How about you, Manny?
Yeah, I'm really heartened and encouraged by what I've read that in COP26, our delegation is going to be led by Secretary Dominguez. So, that in itself says something. It's also my understanding that the Philippines will pledge or will commit to a greenhouse reduction of 75% from 2020 to 2030 through a series of sustainable and financial policy roadmap. I want to get my hands on what that roadmap is, but at least it's saying that this is, that there is this commitment, and Secretary Dominguez being there also says something, and a statement that is as specific as a 75% reduction in GHG from now to 2030 also says something. So I think there's going to be policies that will be elaborated on as we go along, and my thinking here is, 75% may sound like a big number, but it's okay. You set 75%, and then let's say we hit 50%. We didn't hit 75, but we hit 50. That's okay. At least we hit 50 because we set a target. We were running after a number. So I think those are great steps that the Philippines is doing, at least as far as COP26 is concerned, and I hope that carries on through the next administration.
Okay, Ru?
Thanks, Tina. Our final question of the day: what meaningful adjustment do our stakeholders have to do in order to ensure green and sustainable growth? Let's start with Man.
I'd like to just restate what I said earlier. This quotation that says, "Business as usual is economically risky and socially unacceptable." It cannot be the way we've been doing things, because financially, eventually, a company that does not take on environmental, social, and governance initiatives are not going to have customers for their products and are not going to have investors to provide them the funding. And it's also socially unacceptable because society will just judge us on how much initiatives we have taken to reduce climate change. Our children are already saying these things, it's our generation and who are doing this, and it's their generation that will get the brunt of this. So I guess the major adjustment is the mindset change that this is serious and we really have to take it seriously.
Okay, Vicky.
So on the part of consumers, really, we are looking at government, businesses to be the change agents really here, and to be forerunners, to lead consumers along the journey to sustainability. So it first comes from owning the initiative, owning the the goals, no, whether it's something for 2030 or 2050, owning these goals, no, and educating, no, consumers, so that you have the support, no, of the masses, and leading the way, leading by example, demonstrating that there is firm commitment towards this initiative, and somehow enabling the others around you, your peripheral businesses, your partners, your suppliers, no, enabling them so that they can bond with you, no, to achieve that big goal. And at the end, I talked about perseverance, no. Sustainability is not a one big win kind of thing. It's really more like a cycle, a journey that we take almost like over and over. So perseverance will be key as well.
Thank you, Vicky. And finally, Chit.
And for me, it all starts with small steps. So start with the home. Have a sustainable home, if that's if there's another way of calling it. But yung mga recycling and all that, we've already gotten very good legislation on removing plastic, on local legislation and ordinances on using recyclable material and all that. So there's a good start already, and people actually adapt. But probably even just as simple as waste segregation in your own house is an imperative that you must practice as a family, as a household. And imagine 70 million households doing it. That's how you make the change. Really small steps, small moves that become habits. Okay. So that's my goal. Yeah.
Agree.
Okay. There is absolutely so much more that we'd like to discuss, but unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for this first part of our Green Growth Sustainability Series as part of Inquirer Project Rebound. So once again, thank you so much to our speakers for sharing your valuable time and expertise with us and your insights. So we'll be closing this part one of our sustainability series with a closing message from all of you. I'll start with the only boy, Manny.
I learned a lot during this this webinar from Chit. I learned the value of let's start small, of doing it with small things individually at home, and for Vicky, I learned the importance of communication. That in order to get everyone involved, we need to communicate to everyone the importance and criticality of climate change. And I think that's the spirit that I want to leave this webinar, that each one has a part. This is not one man's job or the government's job or the big corporation's job. The fate affects all of us, and therefore all of us must take the initiative. If I may,
Go ahead.
Somebody said, Philippines account for less than 1% of all of the carbon in the world. What possible impact can we have if we did it? Yeah, but that's not the point, right? The point is not only countries with 10% and above should do something. No, this is something this is existential. It affects entire humanity, and each one has a role to play. Thank you very much.
All right. Can we have Vicky?
Yeah. Again, thank you for this session. I also personally learned a lot, from the big players as well as the smaller players. So from Sir Manny, I appreciate the fact that you talked about why business as usual will no longer work. And I think it's really because we want a different outcome. So they said you really have to change something to arrive at a different outcome. And again, appreciate Ms. Cheat for reminding us of the value of the little things. So I'm also reminded of why I started to use a water bottle. Maybe it's not like a big grand gesture on my part, but like a little pickup lang that you use less plastic if you just bring your water bottle everywhere you go. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Vicky. Finally, Chit.
Yes, of course, my appeal and my campaign is always, you're never too small to make a difference. So start small, but we'll get there.
Thank you. Ru?
Thank you. Thank you to everybody. Such a meaningful discussion and so interesting. We're very grateful to our guests for sharing their insights. We hope those of you listening in learned a thing or two like we did.
Yeah,
Tina?
definitely we did. Yeah. Again, I'd like to thank Chit, Vicky, and Manny for taking part in our final. Actually, this is the final two-part series, no, to close Project Rebound for the year, which was also born out of the pandemic and born out of the desire to help our country and our people find our way out of this pandemic, no. So, and that's it for the first part of our webinar today. Thank you again, our panelists. And thank you for being part of Project Rebound, which is presented by the Philippine Daily Inquirer. Ru?
Thank you so much, Tina. Thank you to our viewers. We would also like to thank Inquirer.net, Mega Mobile, and Inquirer Academy. Continue reading the Philippine Daily Inquirer, for authoritative news and features. Once again, I am Royale de Vera of Inquirer Lifestyle.
And I'm Tina Arceo Dumlao of Inquirer Business. And thank you all again for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Salamat.
The Philippine Daily Inquirer would like to thank the following sponsors for making this live stream event possible. Aboitiz, a better future. BPI, ready today, ready tomorrow. Coca-Cola Beverages Philippines Inc., sustainable operations making a difference across a total beverage company. Citi. Medicard, prescribed by doctors. Toyota. We'd also like to acknowledge the organizations that have partnered with us. Thank you to... We'd also like to thank Inquirer.net, Mega Mobile, and Inquirer Academy.
Bawas ipon ulit.
Ingat kayo dyan. Meeting lang, nak.
Some things have disappeared. Our hopes, dreams, and passion. Seems like all we have now is anxiety and fear. But no matter what happens, no matter how challenging it gets, we'll have to see it through. Medlife Protect Plus, protection from medical bills and life's uncertainties. We know we can never go back, but we'll find our way forward. Medlife Protect Plus. Brave the new world.
Our love was so beautiful, nothing could tear us apart. A picture of forever and promises made from the heart. But memories fade as time slips away. Where does that leave me and you? Tell me how to love you with no more regrets. I'll cherish these moments I'll never forget.
I'll take you there one day.
Promise?
Promise.
I will always remember for us. So tell me how to love you with no more regrets. Now cherish these moments, the memories you'll never forget. The memories you'll never.
I may sometimes forget you here, but never here.
The memories you'll never forget.
Every bottle matters. the journey of plastics goes on and on. When it's reused, recycled, reimagined, and reborn. This is the future of sustainable packaging in the Philippines. As we build the country's largest state-of-the-art bottle-to-bottle recycling facility. A pioneering technology that takes us one step closer to a world without waste. Made possible by one of the world's leading green technology ventures and the world's biggest beverage company. Every bottle matters. We bring you Pet Value, the Philippines' largest bottle-to-bottle recycling facility. Operational by 2022.
Are you thinking of buying a new car that's fuel efficient and environmentally conscious? Why not get a hybrid? During your car search, you've probably come across the term XEV. This stands for Hybrid and Electric Vehicle, pertaining to a range of technologies that use electricity to propel a vehicle. XEVs include hybrid electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, battery electric vehicles, and fuel cell electric vehicles. For this video, we'll focus on the hybrid electric vehicle. A hybrid is the most ideal for your first switch to an eco-friendly car because it is the closest to the regular combustion engine vehicles we're used to. Here's how it works. An HEV uses both internal combustion engine and electronic motors that work together to make your car run in the most fuel-efficient way possible. The internal combustion engine runs on fuel and creates kinetic energy that puts the car into motion and charges the batteries of the vehicle. These batteries don't ever need to be plugged in, which means that an electric vehicle won't take a toll on your electric bill, and you never have to scramble for a charging station. HEV batteries and their management system are durable and smart, which means that not only is the battery designed to last the lifetime of the car, but it also knows to shut off when it comes contact with water. Contrary to popular belief, HEVs do not require special maintenance. Just like any other car, make sure not to miss your HEV's period maintenance and routine checkups to make sure everything stays in tip-top shape. The HEV management system works like a brain, telling the vehicle where to send and get power to save energy for better fuel efficiency. So, as you drive, the power source may switch from your engine to your batteries to save on fuel. When you need extra power, like when speeding or going uphill, your vehicle may turn both motors on. When you are idle, like when stuck in traffic, the vehicle may shut both motors off to save even more energy. This toggling between motors not only saves energy but also helps reduce the CO2 emissions and thus greenhouse gases. This means that you don't have to worry about running out of juice while you're on the road. A hybrid electric vehicle truly brings together everything you want in a car: on-demand power, improved fuel efficiency, fuel savings, lower CO2 emissions, and a smooth and quiet driving experience. All these in one awesome vehicle. So, hop in a Toyota hybrid electric vehicle and drive the future.
Aboitiz Power has been driving change for a better world. It's been a long and challenging road, but with every step forward, we've made sure the businesses and communities we serve have been able to grow and flourish. We envision a world where vibrant communities have built their homes and businesses in a thriving environment. To make that world a reality, We are committed to serving the people by providing a reliable power supply at a reasonable and competitive price, while taking on the responsibility for the growth, wellness, and prosperity of the environment and the many communities that rely on us. Over the many decades we've been around, we've watched the world shift and change, and our success to this point has come in part from our constant desire to grow and innovate. The adoption of newer, more efficient, and more effective technologies in the name of progress is a part of who we are and why we're here to stay. Here at Aboitiz Power, we greatly respect the value and importance of the environment. Cleanergy, our brand for renewable energy sources, has become a significant part of our operations, and we continue to be on the lookout for opportunities in the renewable energy space while seeking ways to preserve and enrich the environment. We've long since recognized the incredible potential for kindness, compassion, and community in the millions of lives we've touched over our centuries-long journey. We take great pride in the care and service we provide to these people. To see their communities thriving is our greatest joy and success. Aboitiz Power, driving change for a better world.
Coca-Cola, if I'm not mistaken. Ano ba to? Alan C, may kilala ka? Parang, as pala, sige.
Baka taga Nestle.
Attorney is here already. Brian, thank you.
Afternoon, attorney. Doris, I'm sorry.
Hi, good afternoon.
So, father mo si Senator?
Yes, bale, up ko siya. So, siya yung father ng, ng mga cousins ko sila Erin.
Kasi mo sila Erin. Hindi ka nag-politika.
Well, nung Pinoy time actually, I joined government for a while. Tapos bumalik na ako ng political.
Hi, Mona. Hi, Jorens. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hindi gumagana yung backdrop ko para akong X-Men. Kailangan ng green wall.
Bawas ipon ulit.
Ingat kayo dyan. Meeting lang, nak.
Some things have disappeared. Our hopes, dreams, and passion. Seems like all we have now is anxiety and fear. But no matter what happens, no matter how challenging it gets, we'll have to see it through. Medlife Protect Plus, protection from medical bills and life's uncertainties. We know we can never go back, but we'll find a way forward. Medlife Protect Plus. Brave the new world.
Are you thinking of buying a new car that's fuel efficient and environmentally conscious? Why not get a hybrid? During your car search, you've probably come across the term XEV. This stands for Hybrid and Electric Vehicle, pertaining to a range of technologies that use electricity to propel a vehicle. XEVs include hybrid electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, battery electric vehicles, and fuel cell electric vehicles. For this video, we'll focus on the hybrid electric vehicle. A hybrid is the most ideal for your first switch to an eco-friendly car because it is the closest to the regular combustion engine vehicles we're used to. Here's how it works. An HEV uses both internal combustion engine and electronic motors that work together to make your car run in the most fuel-efficient way possible. The internal combustion engine runs on fuel and creates kinetic energy that puts the car into motion and charges the batteries of the vehicle. These batteries don't ever need to be plugged in, which means that an electric vehicle won't take a toll on your electric bill, and you never have to scramble for a charging station. HEV batteries and their management system are durable and smart, which means that not only is the battery designed to last the lifetime of the car, but it also knows to shut off when it comes contact with water. Contrary to popular belief, HEVs do not require special maintenance. Just like any other car, make sure not to miss your HEV's period maintenance and routine checkups to make sure everything stays in tip-top shape. The HEV management system works like a brain, telling the vehicle where to send and get power to save energy for better fuel efficiency. So, as you drive, the power source may switch from your engine to your batteries to save on fuel. When you need extra power, like when speeding or going uphill, your vehicle may turn both motors on. When you are idle, like when stuck in traffic, the vehicle may shut both motors off to save even more energy. This toggling between motors not only saves energy but also helps reduce the CO2 emissions and thus greenhouse gases. This means that you don't have to worry about running out of juice while you're on the road. A hybrid electric vehicle truly brings together everything you want in a car: on-demand power, improved fuel efficiency, fuel savings, lower CO2 emissions, and a smooth and quiet driving experience. All these in one awesome vehicle. So, hop in a Toyota hybrid electric vehicle and drive the future.
Abadilla Power has been driving change for a better world. It's been a long and challenging road, but with every step forward, we've made sure the businesses and communities we serve have been able to grow and flourish. We envision a world where vibrant communities have built their homes and businesses in a thriving environment. To make that world a reality, we are committed to serving the people by providing a reliable power supply at a reasonable and competitive price, while taking on the responsibility for the growth, wellness, and prosperity of the environment and the many communities that rely on us. Over the many decades we've been around, we've watched the world shift and change, and our success to this point has come, in part, from our constant desire to grow and innovate. The adoption of newer, more efficient, and more effective technologies in the name of progress is a part of who we are and why we're here to stay. Here at Abadilla Power, we greatly respect the value and importance of the environment, clean energy, Our brand for renewable energy sources has become a significant part of our operations, and we continue to be on the lookout for opportunities in the renewable energy space while seeking ways to preserve and enrich the environment. We've long since recognized the incredible potential for kindness, compassion, and community in the millions of lives we've touched over our centuries-long journey. We take great pride in the care and service we provide to these people. To see their communities thriving is our greatest joy and success. Aboitiz Power, driving change for a better world.
The Philippine Daily Inquirer would like to thank the following sponsors for making this live stream event possible. Aboitiz, a better future. BPI, ready today, ready tomorrow. Coca-Cola Beverages Philippines Inc., sustainable operations making a difference across a total beverage company. Citi. Medicard, prescribed by doctors. Toyota. We'd also like to acknowledge the organizations that have partnered with us. Thank you to... We'd also like to thank Inquirer.net, Mega Mobile, and Inquirer Academy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Inquirer Project Rebound webinar series presented by the Philippine Daily Inquirer. My name is Royale de Vera, and with me is Doris Dumlao Abadilla, Inquirer Business Features Editor, who will be my co-moderator for this live stream event. The Philippine Daily Inquirer and its sister companies introduced Project Rebound in the desire to empower Filipinos amidst these difficult times and to do its part in helping our economy bounce back. We have been doing this by sharing insights from experts and success stories that are meant to inspire others to recover and thrive. This is why we are here today. To know more about Project Rebound, let's watch this video.
The COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting lockdowns have dealt a heavy blow on the economy. Millions of Filipinos were left jobless, thousands of companies were forced to close, and thousands more have had to downsize to ride out the downturn. But all is not lost. Almost a year into the crisis, the Philippines has begun its journey to recovery with stimulus measures and policies in place. Filipino companies, groups, and individuals have also shown their resilience and are slowly regaining their footing. The Philippine Daily Inquirer, along with its sister companies, seeks to do its share to help the Philippines bounce back from this unprecedented crisis by doing what it does best: tell the stories that empower the Filipino. Through Project Rebound, the Philippine Daily Inquirer will share expert insights and inspiring stories of how businesses can accelerate their recovery, how to retool and recalibrate to survive and even thrive amid the COVID-19 pandemic in collaboration with the government, civil society, and the private sector. With its 67 million strong reach across multimedia platforms, the Inquirer Group is indeed in a favorable position to inspire a rebound from the crisis. Together, we can and will overcome.
This afternoon, our topic is green growth, ensuring a greener Philippines. Very timely topic given the humanity's imperative to mitigate climate change.
Before we introduce our guests, we'd like to give an exclusive offer to our viewers. You can get a free 30-day trial of the Philippine Daily Inquirer's digital edition, Inquirer Plus. We are flashing the details on your screen so you can see how you can get this free trial. You can also visit shop.inquirer.com.ph to know more about Inquirer Plus. Now it's time to introduce our guests for today's session. Our first speaker is Arlene Tan Bantoto. Arlene Tan Bantoto is Nestle Philippines Head of Public Affairs, Communications, and Sustainability. In this capacity, she spearheads public affairs, including government and industry relations, corporate communications, and leads the sustainability and creating shared value initiatives of the company. Prior to this appointment, she was the business unit head of Nestle Infant Nutrition in the country. Ms. Tan Bantoto started her career in Nestle as a management trainee in 1993 and took on roles in sales and brand management. Her assignments have included expatriate stints in the Greater China region, China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, and the Nestle headquarters in Vevey, Switzerland. She has also managed the Nestle Health Science business and was Chief Innovation Officer for the company in the Philippines. Good afternoon, Arlene.
Hi, magandang hapon, mga kasambuhay. Special thanks to the Inquirer for this initiative to discuss this urgent and certainly very important topic on sustainability. Looking forward to sharing what we do at Nestle Philippines and hearing more about what we can do by working together towards a healthier, more livable planet, not only for ourselves, but more importantly for the next generation.
Thank you, Arlene. Now we have our next speaker, Attorney Juan Lorenzo Tañada, or Jorens. Jorens is a lawyer who had the privilege of sitting on the senior leadership teams of two multi-billion-dollar companies, Cebu Pacific and Coca-Cola FEMSA Philippines Inc., which is now known as Coca-Cola Beverages Philippines. He is the Director for Corporate and Regulatory Affairs at Coca-Cola Beverages Philippines, a challenging role in which he is constantly exposed to the intricacies of the Philippine beverage industry environment and the investment climate in the Philippines in general. It is within this highly dynamic context that he oversees and leads Coca-Cola Beverages Regulatory and Stakeholder Affairs, its corporate social responsibility and sustainability efforts, external media relations, as well as incident management, corporate response, and crisis management teams. Good afternoon, Attorney Jorens.
Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be with you. Many thanks to Inquirer for having us today. Like Arlene, we're happy to share what we've been doing with Coca-Cola Beverages over the last couple of years, especially as we all face the challenges of the pandemic together. Also looking forward to learning from all our colleagues from the various industries. So magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, Attorney Jorens. Our third speaker is Ramon Hill Chito Macapagal. Engineer Chito Macapagal is with SM Investments Corporations, or SMIC's Corporate Affairs and Sustainability Group. He's also a board of trustee of the SM Foundation and the Henry C. Foundation. He had worked for Unilever for 40 years in the areas of engineering, manufacturing, human resources, communications, corporate affairs and sustainability, regulatory affairs, and crisis management. He was posted overseas as a chief engineer and as project engineer at Unilever Research and Engineering in Holland. He is on the board of Philippine Business for the Environment and an active proponent for climate change actions and convener of Zero Basura Olympics. Chito is happily married to Patricia Jocelyn Poliptap and has 2 children. Good afternoon, Sir Chito.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat at maraming salamat sa inyong invitasyon sa hapong ito. I'm really very grateful for being able to participate in your webinar today. I'll be here to share whatever I had, my experiences in the fast-moving consumer goods business and also in SM's delivery of their sustainable development goals. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Chito. And we have such a good panel today, so we should get it all started. Let's begin with our first question. And this first question is for all of you. What are your thoughts on the viability of a net zero goal? Let's start with Arlene.
Thank you for that question, Royale. So I think first of all, the most important is to have a baseline. Because a few weeks ago, we were presenting to SEC, some 300 companies on sustainability. And you can really sense that the MSMEs are overwhelmed. Hindi nila alam anong gagawin, di ba? But it really starts with baselining. So in Nestle, we took the services of South Pole to share with us our baseline globally and by markets. And from the baseline, we came up with the clear strategies. We have 3 strategies for Nestle Philippines. That's sourcing responsibly, like with our coffee farmers, teaching them regenerative agriculture, transforming our operations. So for more than a decade now, we've been trying to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, both water and energy usage. And finally, shaping a waste-free future. So having a clear strategy and a roadmap, then it doesn't feel so overwhelming. But of course, there are also a lot of challenges today. Most companies will say it's going to hit the bottom line. So ayaw nila, diba? But seriously, if you do efforts on reducing greenhouse gas emissions, you will be surprised that also your cost can go down. So for instance, we've saved a lot of water, a lot of greenhouse gas, a lot of energy when we move to a renewable electricity. So there are benefits really. It's not just good for the environment, but also good for the business. There's also the challenge of changing mindset, not only internally, but also with our suppliers. Not how to make them understand that this is, they say now in COP26, it's code red for humanity. So we have no time to waste. We really have to have that mindset and start moving. Finally, of course, it's also important that the government will have policies that can support businesses, both big and small, with, for example, tax incentives, but also clear policies and clear implementation guidelines so that we can all be guided and we can all move into one direction. Thank you.
Thanks, Arlene. Joran, so what about you?
Yeah, so if we're talking about a zero carbon goal, we really took time as a system because the Coca-Cola system, as you know, basically has a global footprint. And prior to 2018, I want to say, a lot of people were consulted throughout the Coca-Cola system to see what was realistic, what could we possibly achieve, and how do we get there as a company and as a system. So among the things that we came up with during that period was the World Without Waste goal, which I think we'll be able to talk about a little bit later. However, with respect to the zero carbon emission goal, I'm happy to say that in our estimation and following all the data that we had at our disposal, we saw that we would be able to achieve it on a program basis. And by 2050, as a Coca-Cola system, we feel that we will be able to achieve that zero carbon emission goal that we have set for ourselves.
Thank you, Jorens. Sir Chito?
Well, let me basically start by saying that the net zero goal, we need actually to go for a global and a local view here. We have to first basically present it that way. Well, we presume that people understand exactly what it is. And of course, we also have to explain in very simple terms the Paris Climate Accord. The proponents believe that basically the aim is to keep the global temperature from rising to no more than 1.5 degrees centigrade, and that it can be achieved by the reduction of the carbon emission by middle of the century, 2050. So we start with that. I think it's a very good target to aspire for, and the case for the world and the planet has has already been told 1,000 times, but sometimes people still won't get it. So we just have to be patient and start communicating that. Now, locally, we should make our messages also understood, and that should be cutting across all the sectors of our society. Now, we may have to find a way to actually communicate it also individually, like, for example, saying that maybe each individual should go to a carbon diet. No? How do you explain that? You can say, well, diabetics can go on carbo diet. Now, the world in peril maybe should, in order to cut GHG emission, maybe we should go for a carbon diet. Things like that. And of course, there have been many movements already who've been trying to go for that. Simple actions, no? Simple actions like planting a tree, reducing your electricity, reducing waste on water. These are all measurable things. You don't have to go. You don't have to be. There's really no rocket science in being able to measure that. Now, unless we can make this global threat or imperative relevant to individuals, I think the challenge will really be difficult. And this challenge is actually exacerbated by the fact that our country is a low emission country. And people already know that our per capita carbon dioxide consumption is only 1.98 against an average of 4 for the world. And it's only 0.34% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. So how can you convince people that it's an action that we should actually take? So the case has got to be compelling. We have to talk to them about the super typhoons that has caused havoc, which basically ate up about 4% of our GDP. And the last set two typhoons have also cost almost $1 billion. So our country really need basically to work on this one to make sure that people will do their share, and no matter how small their impact is, because everyone will be affected. I think with those efforts, I think it's not just going to be industries who will be pushing for it. You're going to be convincing your consumers to actually participate in our whatever net zero carbon emission program that we're going to be launching. Thank you.
Thank you, Tito. I'll jump off from that point on measurement of sustainability projects. So how do you measure the impact of your projects so that you could say that it's good enough to move the needle? So I'll start with you, Sir Chito.
Well, very good question, Doris. Well, actually, a quick answer there will be it all depends on what your goals are and what you really want to achieve. You know? This can be numbers, and this can also be qualitative measures. Now, in case we do monitoring, for example, for our case in the foundation, our important sustainability projects will be our scholarship programs and also our farmers training program. And we do have a lot of ways to measure it through our organized forums. We also have our newsletter, which basically tracks all the activities and developments and results of our program. Now, as far as hard measure, we follow the lead of our group in SMIC, where we actually even use the Global Reporting Index format in order for us to be able to measure it the hard way. Now, fortunately, the measure and for impact on education and farmers training is very, very clear and compelling. You know, we've got 200 to 1,000 scholars. Each of them have got their stories to tell. And we made sure that people will not forget those stories of the changes and improvement on the lives of our scholars, and also our farmers will always be noticed, because it is the same measures that drive you to do better.
Attorney Jorens, how about in Coca-Cola beverages?
Well, for us, we do take steps to measure the impact of our operations, particularly in certain aspects. So, for example, in fleet, we've been taking great pains to migrate to Euro 4, Euro 5 compliant emissions trucks. As you know, our transport fleet might be one of the biggest ones in the entire country, precisely because we do have that national footprint that we have to serve. In fact, I think it goes without saying that probably we have the biggest fleet among all the FMCGs around today. So over time, I think we have been constantly refleeting already, and we're proud to say at this moment we're around 30% already Euro 4 to 5 compliant for our fleet, and we keep our trucks in tip-top shape. Each and every time that they go out, we make sure that they are working properly and conforming to all regulatory standards. That's on the fleet side. On the manufacturing side, as you know, one of our biggest ingredients is water. So we make sure that we replenish the water that we use. As a matter of fact, we're proud to say that we give back 132% of all the water that we use. So how people might ask, you only use 100%. How do you get to 132%? Well, we do a couple of things. One, of course, is we make sure that our usage of this resource is very, very efficient. We do it very, very efficiently, and we try to reuse as much of it as we can in our plants and in our operations. And of course, there's the other aspect. We make sure that communities that don't have access to water, clean, potable water, do get access. We have a lot of projects together with our sister foundation, the Coca-Cola Foundation, to ensure that communities with zero to no access to water get some delivered right to their doorstep, simple as connecting them to water mains. We make sure that that's done as well. We implement these projects, particularly using old technologies. One of them is the ramp pump technology. It's been around for a couple of 100 years, but basically what it does is it brings water up to highland, upland communities which do not have or have not had any access to water since they started existing as a village. And I've had the good fortune of actually seeing some of these water turnover projects done in places as far as the interior of Negros Occidental, for example. Seen people really, really happy to be part of that, to be recipients of those things, of those ramp pumps. Then apart from water, apart from refleeting, we also make sure that we do our bit in terms of using renewable energy. We use a lot of renewables, particularly geothermal and solar. Happy to report that we just recently installed 14,000 solar panels over the last couple of years in Misamis Oriental, our plant in Bacolod, and I believe in Davao del Sur as well. And there are 24,000 new panels to be installed in the coming months to the next year and a half, I want to say. So in those respects, we make sure that we're able to measure our sustainability contributions and impact. Thank you, Doris.
Thank you, Attorney. May we hear from Arlene?
Okay, so for Nestle, first, we really take our KPIs very seriously. In fact, after our chairman announced that Nestle globally will be net zero by 2050, immediately the targets were brought down to each market. And because Nestle Philippines is a big player in the Nestle world and one of the biggest food and beverage company in the Philippines, we take these KPIs very seriously. So it's time bound, it's action bound, and we check it periodically. So we do pre and post assessments, set targets, and monitor the achievements. So for example, we're very proud about our plastic neutrality. So from August 2020 to August 2021, we are the first multinational FMCG to declare plastic neutrality. It mainly means we collect the same amount of plastic we produce. So it was very important for us to measure first what we put out there and how much we have diverted away from nature. To give an idea how much we collected for one full year, it's equivalent to 27 million kilos of plastic waste. And we're not talking only about Nestle waste because it's so difficult to just collect Nescafe and Milo, right? So all plastic waste we collect anyway. And these were all co-processed as a stopgap measure. So if you can imagine, we were able to divert 2,700 dump trucks of plastic waste diverted away from landfills and oceans. So I'm sure you can imagine how much plastic waste that is. Second is we can talk about energy and waste metrics. So we do measure how much water and energy we saved. For instance, in terms of energy, we saved 23,000 cars a year along EDSA, or 44 million liters of diesel. And finally, for water, we saved 350 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So medyo marami talaga siya, di ba? So that was even before we declared our net zero. We also do, with our coffee farmers for Nescafe plan, initially the impact areas we were looking at were only yield and income, wherein we were able to help our coffee farmers increase their income by threefolds. And obviously, this has a big impact on their quality of lives, but also on the economy. Finally, we have a lot of grassroots activities because we also like to experiment and see what works well from a small scale and how we can make it big scale. For instance, we help the women in Donsol on how to recycle or upcycle plastic waste and turn them into merchandising materials. Or the tree planting with WWF, we made sure that the quality of life of the IP people there were well taken care of, and then we also provide them jobs. So it's not only the bottom line or the savings per se, but really the impact on the quality of life of the people and the community where we work with.
Thank you, Arlene. And thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts with us. If you are watching and you have questions, feel free to send them in and we'll ask our panelists to answer them for you. Before we continue for the next part of our program, we will take a short break, and so stay tuned for more.
Our love was so beautiful, nothing could tear us apart. A picture of forever and promises made from the heart. But memories fade as time slips away. Where does that leave me and you? Tell me how to love you with no more regrets. I'll cherish these moments I'll never forget.
I'll take you there one day.
Promise?
Promise.
I will always remember for us. So tell me how to love you with no more regrets. Now cherish these moments, the memories you'll never forget. The memories you'll never.
I may sometimes forget you here, but never here.
The memories you'll never forget.
Every bottle matters. The journey of plastics goes on and on. When it's reused, recycled, reimagined, and reborn. This is the future of sustainable packaging in the Philippines. As we build the country's largest state-of-the-art bottle-to-bottle recycling facility. A pioneering technology that takes us one step closer to a world without waste. Made possible by one of the world's leading green technology ventures, and the world's biggest beverage company. Every bottle matters. We bring you Pet Value, the Philippines' largest bottle-to-bottle recycling facility. Operational by 2022.
The Philippine Daily Inquirer would like to thank the following sponsors for making this live stream event possible. Aboitiz, a better future. BPI, ready today, ready tomorrow. Coca-Cola Beverages Philippines Inc., sustainable operations making a difference across a total beverage company. Citi. Medicard, prescribed by doctors. Toyota. We'd also like to acknowledge the organizations that have partnered with us. Thank you to... We'd also like to thank Inquirer.net, Mega Mobile, and Inquirer Academy.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in to Inquirer Project Rebound webinar series presented by the Philippine Daily Inquirer. Moving on to the last part of our online discussion, we have more questions. Waiting to be answered by our panelists. So let's start off with this one. This one can be answered by anyone. The question is from the Philippine Business for Education. The question is, what skill set should we prepare our workforce for? Who would like to tackle this question?
Can I
yes,
venture to answer it first? Okay. Well, actually, there is the good side of what has happened to us during this pandemic, and one of them actually is the acquisition of a new set of skills. It's a lot of new set of skills that has been acquired during this time of pandemic, and one of them basically is navigating through your computer using all your apps, using your mobile phones. And if you haven't done that yet, then when we basically go back to the new normal, you'll be basically a dinosaur. Failing to learn something new will be basically a dinosaur. The other thing coming from foundation, one of the things that we've also emphasized, apart just from basic educational skills, technical and functional skills, we have emphasized the need for people to learn their soft skills. Soft skills means good leadership, coordination, collaboration, right, thinking and working as a team, just to name a few. So these are some of the things we think that our educators should actually emphasize as they bring in maybe the new set of I would say criteria for the new sets of the subjects that they're going to be putting in for the students. A good set of soft skills.
Thank you, Sir Tito. For Arlene and Lorenzo, Jorens, how do you influence supply chains to adopt sustainability measures?
If I may, thanks for that question. So we at Coke, it's interesting. We actually don't need to supply our supply chains to take those concepts to heart, because it's really actually cascaded all the way down from our regional and head offices all the way down to us here in the operations in the Philippines. So sustainability is part and parcel of everything that we do, and this is manifested in so many things that we love to talk about when we have the opportunity. One of them, of course, is our World Without Waste initiative, our advocacy, where we want our supply chain really to be front and center. With that World Without Waste initiative, we're really talking about collecting and recycling every bottle and can that we manufacture and sell by 2030, at least the equivalent of that. No, it sounds quite difficult, but it's a big, hairy, audacious goal that we set for ourselves. when we got together prior to announcing World Without Waste, and we're really taking steps to get to that point now. I think you saw earlier a video about our upcoming facility called Pet Value, which is coming up in the first quarter of 2022, where we will basically be producing food grade PET bottles to be used not just by the Coca-Cola company, but potentially for other manufacturers of beverages who require PET bottles for their use as well. Among the goals that are included there basically are to use at least a minimum of 50% recycled material by 2025, I believe, and to use 100% recyclable material by 2030. So these goals that we've set for ourselves, aligned with World Without Waste, are, we understand, quite big, hairy, audacious. But what's a goal if it's not something to aspire for? And really, all of us, from supply chain all the way up to the support center, the lawyers, the accountants, the commercial guys, all of us take this to heart. So really, there's actually no need to remind them or to influence them to take that to heart, because once you work with Coke, it becomes part of the DNA already, ever since the last couple of years.
What about Nestle, Arlene?
So for Nestle, we take a whole of business approach, meaning it's really end-to-end. We have a very diverse group of partners. So we talk about our farmers, our raw material and packaging material suppliers. We have transport, we have distributors, we have agencies, and we have so many other partners. So it's important, first of all, especially with our suppliers, that we have the supplier code, meaning at the bare minimum, they must comply with their social and environmental standards. So it's so important to have a shared vision and to have like-mindedness. Next is when we talk about our supply chain, meaning the transport and the whole end-to-end cycle, we have our annual gathering called the Greening the Supply Chain and Going Beyond. This is when we talk to our suppliers, we engage with them, and we partner with them on special projects on how to reduce our carbon footprint. So it's not only with the big suppliers, but also with the smaller suppliers. And finally, for example, when we wanted to reduce plastic, because plastic is not only our sachets, we talk about plastic in the shrink wrap in our distribution centers, for instance, or even just the plastic cups in the office. So what we do is we go to their work site, we do like a Gemba walk, and we identify what are the little and big things that we can do together, because it's not only the big things that matter, right? So when we look at our supply chain, we look at really from end to end. It's a holistic approach from farm to consumption and beyond, meaning post-consumer waste. So we also work with, currently we're working with DepEd. On our 9th year, we have the Nestle Wellness Campus, where we help educate 10 million students from public schools in 7 regions all over the country on how to live sustainably. So we feel that sustainably is not just within our end-to-end, but also going beyond.
Thank you, Arlene. Doris?
So Arlene mentioned before, because I was gonna ask about what other regulatory reforms you'd like to see to support a sustainability agenda. And you mentioned earlier incentives, something about incentives. So I'd like to ask each one of you about the reforms you'd like to see, starting with Arlene. And aside from that, the fiscal incentives, maybe you have other things in mind.
Okay, thank you, Doris. So we believe in working with others because we don't have all the solutions, especially with our big and bold commitment of becoming net zero by 2050. Really, we need all the help that we can get. So one thing we are looking forward to is on the topic of plastic, especially on our kind of plastic, which is the food sachets. Today, there is no alternative or biodegradable alternative. And plastic is the most affordable and easily accessible material to keep the integrity of the product, because obviously this is something that you ingest, and we want to make sure that we give the best quality to our consumers. So we are advocating for EPR. So this is the Extended Producers Responsibility Scheme. Basically, it holds companies responsible for consumer waste after use by consumers. So therefore, we pay a fee to cover collection, upcycling, and recovery of plastic waste. Many countries already have that, and I think now there's a bill that is being discussed in both Senate and Congress. So we hope that it will be passed and it will be mandatory. Part of plastic, aside from EPR, is clear labeling policies on how to properly dispose our products. Because today the consumers don't really know where do you put it, in the green, in the yellow, or in the blue box. We would also look forward to incentives for innovation in packaging and recycling. In fact, we have very talented Filipinos. So we need more hackathons or planning with academia. Recently, Nestle tied up with Climate Change Commission. So we're currently running a hackathon. We call it the Climathon, Climate Hackathon. And this is open to the youth, to universities, up to 35 years of age, to give all their bright ideas on sustainability. We would also like to see prioritization on the increase in infrastructure to support recycling and upcycling. So aside from plastic, the second one that we would like to advocate for is a carbon insetting and offsetting framework. When we say insetting, that means that we should do it preferably within our supply chain, because offset is buying carbon offset, right? So it's like, I can't do anything more with my factory operation, so I will just buy the carbon offset. But really, what's important is for each company to find solutions internally in their supply chain. So for instance, what we have pledged to do is to plant 3.5 million trees. And also today, we are working with our coffee farmers on how to make the soil carbon sink. I don't know if you've seen Netflix Kiss the Ground, because it's a very simple way of explaining how the soil can be a carbon sink. So what do we do with farmers? We teach them regenerative agriculture, such as intercropping, composting, soil mulching. So you think these are very simple things, but actually they're not yet really practiced in the Philippines. So this is what we're doing one by one to our coffee farmers. So that's a carbon insetting. And of course, if we cannot do it anymore within our supply chain, we are looking forward for the government to also implement an offsetting, carbon offsetting policy framework. So that's also important. Finally, we are looking forward to have an opening of renewable electricity access in Mindanao. Today, we have 100% RE in all our factories in Luzon and our Makati admin office. But in Mindanao, we don't have that line yet, but we're still proceeding with our solar panels. So we hope that will also be open so that we have a full country renewable electricity program. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene. Attorney Jorens, any thoughts?
We were actually thinking about that siguro around a year ago when we were brainstorming what else can we do apart from doing World Without Waste? What else can we do as a system? And we were thinking, how do we partner with government in coming up with that World Without Waste? We feel that really, as the private sector, we need to partner with government in many aspects. As mentioned earlier, we were talking about pet value, and pet value is something that we're very, very proud of, because once that's in play, we'll be able basically to drive all the PET bottles that are used in all the operations of PET beverage manufacturers towards that shall we say that the Bermuda Triangle. That's what we want to make it. We want it all to go there so that we can reuse and recycle everything. The one I should say limitation that we have there is we can only use PET bottles that are clear. Unfortunately, technology has not yet advanced to the point where we can use all colored bottles already. But clear bottles will readily be recycled once it goes through the processes that PET value will have in place. If we can maybe incentivize our colleagues in the industry the beverage industry and the FMCGs to move towards using clear PET packaging. I think that would be a big step in the right direction. We also looked at RA 1077 10771 basically talks about transitioning the labor force towards a green economy. It's something also that we are very much willing to support. We're looking at possibly working with our stakeholders and our partners in government and seeing how we can come up and help in bringing those skills to fruition. Because as we emerge from this pandemic and we face the other challenges that are ahead of us, especially the challenges that are being talked about now in Glasgow, not COP26, we feel that preparing the workforce will be very, very much required. And so maybe working with government, working with DOLE to see how RA 10771 would be better executed would be one of the things that we can do. Thank you.
Sir Chito?
Yeah, let me take it on a slightly different angle, Doris. Maybe
Kasi
even maybe even before any reforms, I think if there would be any regulatory body on sustainability matters, maybe the regulators will just need to put in place clear requirements and to make sure that there's going to be an ease of processing and even assistance in doing the processing. And of course, when we regulate, we just want to make sure that we will not be creating any new problems just for the businesses to be able to comply. So that will be my 5 cents worth when it comes to regulations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Now we're down to our last two questions with our three panelists representing three of the biggest and most important corporate entities in the country. We should ask you, what sustainability projects already in the Philippines are you most proud of? Who would like to start?
Okay, I can start.
Sure. Arlene.
We're particularly proud of our renewable electricity in all our factories in Luzon and Makati head office. And even if Mindanao is not yet ready, we are going ahead with solar, but still look forward to the opening of the lines there. We're proud of what we've done with WWF 3 years ago, planting 65,000 trees in Ipo Dam while taking care of the IP community there. And also our commitment to plant 3.5 million more trees in the next 3 years. We are finally proud of our plastic neutrality, collecting 27 million plastic waste for 1 full year and moving to paper straws, something that was not easy in the beginning, but finally we were able to accomplish. And moving beyond our supply chain, we're proud of doing our grassroots activities and working with DepEd, DENR, to educate public school students on the importance of sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene. Attorney Florence?
Hi. So, we're proud of a number of things also at Coke. One of them definitely has to do with our packaging. So in terms of packaging, we're very proud of how we've lightweighted our bottles, our PET bottles from before, which basically means you use a lot less plastic than you would, a lot less PET than you would normally use, as opposed to previous manufacturing practices. I think right now, we have saved the equivalent of around 10,000 metric tons of PET already by doing our lightweighting. We're also very chuffed about how we've taken the bold step, we think, of as we mentioned, moving away from colored PET packaging. I don't know if you remember this. Our Sprite SKU used to be in a green PET bottle, and it was really good for us from a commercial perspective. But then, as mentioned earlier, it poses a bit of a problem for us when it comes to recycling it, no? So we took the big step of migrating away from that green PET packaging to the clear one. And basically all actually of the PET bottles that we use now are the clear kind. We also took, I think one of the more, I think bold commercial steps also when we exited the powder space, no? When we announced our exit from the powder space, we're moving away from that space, from the powder juice segment, and that would come to fruition in toto by, I believe, by next year. It became quite a bit of a decision, a business decision for us to make, because obviously when you exit a segment of a business, that means giving up profit and income, no? But we felt this was something that we could do and that we should do if we were to be true to ourselves and to meet the world without waste goals that we're looking at meeting by 2030. So I think those are a number of things that we're proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Joren. Sir Chito.
Yeah. Having joined at least two businesses, I'm really very proud both on the social development side that we've done, particularly with the SM Foundation. I mentioned specifically the ones on the education involving scholarship and building new schools. And more importantly, on our situation now, being able to continue those projects really made us proud. And even being able to continue with our announcement of scholars and even having graduation during this time is really a big feat, which I think I give credit to all the program directors of SM Foundation and its leadership. Same with our Kabalikat sa Kabuhayan on farmers training. Like right now, who's basically feeding us. It's our farmers who's feeding us. And not only that, a lot of them are now supplying directly to some of our outlets. So we have to really be loving our farmers on this day. Now, on the environmental side, I'm very proud, both of my previous companies, because as early as the 2000s, we've already been working on zeroing of waste. In fact, we've zeroed our factory as early as 2004. And we've also done 2 editions of Zero Basura Olympics, courtesy of the Earth Day Network and the Philippine Business for Environment. We also intend to basically have our 3rd edition. It's quite rather a feat, because before, companies are rather shy, and adamant in sharing their experiences. But with those Zero Waste Olympics, we were able to actually put on record all the efforts that they've actually done. With the SM Foundation, I'm very proud of similar things that we are now basically doing, cleaning up Manila Bay, doing trash for cash, the reusable bags. We have sustained it for more than 10 years, and we're very proud because my former company was a partner of SM in that endeavor. It was something that has been really very sustained. And finally, of course, what makes me proud is that the new generation of our leaders right now are very much into sustainability. One actually is basically pushing for a sustainability school. Another, during this pandemic, on his own accord, has put up and built a set of quarantines for the armed forces and the Philippine National Police. And these are already the 3rd generation of our leaders in SM. Makes me really very proud of them.
Thank you, sir. We now go to our final question. And speaking of the pandemic, I'd like to ask whether the pandemic has affected either the budget or the rollout of new projects, because as we know, profitability was a big challenge since the pandemic. And some activities, if I can imagine, may be difficult to execute because of the physical impossibility of doing them during the lockdowns. Maybe we'll start with Arlene.
Thank you, Doris. I actually took on the role September 2020, just 6 months after the pandemic started. But if you look at what Nestle has accomplished since I started this role, together with the team and the entire company, actually we pursued a number of ESG initiatives, including our biggest environmental milestone so far, which is achieving plastic neutrality in August. And then we also shifted from plastic to paper straws. And this year, last April, we announced our biggest local commitment, which is to achieve net zero by 2050. Actually, mahirap siya. And, every day we talk about it and we really try to find solutions. And really coming up with a roadmap, how to get to the 2050. So yes, maybe it's slightly difficult because sometimes there were times that we were on lockdown and we couldn't see our colleagues and everything was done online. But I'm really proud of the team, of their passion to make it happen. My boss, who's been very supportive, and also our headquarters, but also with our partners, whether it's the academe, the government, the NGOs that we work with, who have been very supportive of our cause and really finding solutions. So we address pressing environmental issues. It's really an urgent priority. That is why we're trying to accelerate our efforts towards achieving net zero. Thank you.
Glad to hear there's no let up, Attorney Jorens.
So for us, it was a little bit difficult also. As you can imagine, a lot of the projects that we undertake really require face-to-face interactions. I think earlier I did relate the story about how we were doing the turnovers of water resource projects. For example, the ramp pump project that we do in Negros, among other places. Unable to do that now. Also unable to do a lot of things that we used to do also, working with coastal communities. One of the things that we're proud of also is the surf rake program that we have. We work with local governments in places like Baler, Siargao, Boracay, San Vicente and Palawan and other places to turn over a surf rake to help them keep their beaches clean and pristine. We wanted to make sure that back then at least that the more tourists go and visit their places as their economies grow, at the same time we still help in keeping their environment as pristine as we could. Unfortunately, we're unable to do that now. I want to tell a story though. One of the last places that we were able to visit prior to lockdown, if it might even be the last place we were able to visit prior to lockdown was Batanes. And Batanes actually had their eco center, which was located in a portion of the main island. And we saw that in that eco center there was their collection of PET bottles throughout the years. That was there because it was quite difficult to transport from Batanes to the mainland, because there's an ecosystem with respect to recycling PET bottles. They were not able to participate in the chain. So when we came back to Manila, we determined that what we could do, the best that we could do for Batanes at that point was to see how we could move that big mass of PET bottles to the mainland for processing and recycling. And we've actually done it. So we're actually in the process now of shipping that collection over the years of PET bottles in Batanes. I believe that's around 20 tons of PET bottles in Batanes that's been collected in their eco center that we will be moving here to compose a large portion of the initial feedstock for Pet Value. So when Pet Value comes on stream in 2022, definitely a large segment of the initial output will be from the PET that was collected from Batanes. And then in that way, we hope to be able to still continue meeting our goals even as the pandemic really put a damper on what we could do. Thank you, Doris.
Thank you, Sir Chito. So lower budget ba and lower rollout, or the opposite?
Well, let me tell you two very quick stories. First of all, let's go on the efforts in the environment, and let me talk about SM Prime. SM has been a victim of floodings several years ago, and I remember Hansi of SM Prime during our brief conversation when Rosales was underwater then, and he was supposed to be having just opened the new mall. He was really determined to open it, and the idea of opening the mall and the recovery doesn't seem to be really that urgent. But he received some word that people are really waiting for SM to open because it serves as a barometer of normalcy for Rosales. And because of that, Hans made sure that they work overnight, and we opened SM Rosales just before Christmas. I also remember him saying this: we cannot remain being victims every year. So we have to stop. You have to start acting, and you have to stop being victims. And with that, it I think propelled him to be actively batting for the disaster risk reduction. And as you can see, he's still very, very much active. And there is no letting up off when it comes to expenditures, because they've already committed 10% extra in making sure that their buildings are resiliency, almost resiliency proof, disaster proof. So that's the first story. The other story is that our malls, our malls basically addresses fundamental need of our people to go in places like parks. Let us not just forget that the crucial role and the sacrifices made by the business owners with their teams from the malls, universities, sports centers, schools, and other institutions to provide us with facilities for safe vaccination. So they were very active then. And they have also spent much of their time planning and putting into actions plans to ensure that our malling activities will be safe on every possible alert level. The marketplace, the malls, and the likes reminds us that we are very much alive. And it has transformed from a favorite place for our family and friends to meet and assemble in a safe place. So they've worked there, basically they've worked themselves to make sure that our malls will be a safe assembly place.
There's so much more that we want to discuss, such an interesting discussion, but that is all the time we have for this Inquirer Project Rebound webinar. Once again, thank you so much to our speakers for sharing their valuable insights with us. We will be ending this online discussion with a closing message from each of our speakers. Let's start off with Arlene.
So thank you very much, Royale and Doris, for the very interesting discussion. I'd like to thank my colleagues Chito and Jorens. I learned a lot from both of you and looking forward to engaging more with you guys. I think it's very important for us in the industry to work together, find solutions together, because at the end of the day, it's the Mother Earth wins. Diba? So for Nestle Philippines, you can count on us to be a pioneer and to really work together with anyone in the industry, in the NGO, academe, with the government to find solutions. We have in place a whole of business approach in pursuing ESG. And at the same time, of course, we cannot do it alone. Therefore, we are committed to working with all of you to securing a sustainable future and ensuring a greener country. Maraming salamat mga kasambuhay.
Thank you, Arlene. Attorney Jorens, maybe hear your closing remarks.
Thank you, Doris. So on behalf of Coca-Cola Beverages Philippines, I want to say thank you to the Inquirer and to everyone who took the time not to join us today. I especially want to thank Arlene and Chito. Like Arlene, I learned very much from you as well. It's important that we continue to engage with one another, especially as we face the challenges that we're all facing together at this time. It's strange. It's not just the pandemic that we're facing, but also this environmental crisis. But what I find most laudable from today is, we all recognize that there's a problem, but we all want to be part of the solution. So you have the assurance from CCBPI that, like you, we will be part of that solution, and we look forward to engaging with you at some other occasion as well. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Attorney Jorens. And finally, Sir Chito.
Well, again, thank you to you, Royale, Doris, Tony Jorens, and Arlene. Both your projects, I've been following them very closely because I've been very much involved in my early life in the FMCG. And I have actually attended your launch on the PET recycling, attorney Tanyada. So anyway, my message maybe to everyone will be that let's just remember that after this world will not return to what it was as we used to know it, unfortunately. But we need to bring most of the innovations and the adaptation, the changes we've made to survive the challenges brought by this pandemic. The future is really coming, so we should prepare for it with our best efforts, but maybe with cautious optimism. Let us continue arming ourselves with new knowledge and skills for our family, for our current and future employment, and for our maybe future enterprise plans. And let's just remember that the need to drive for sustainability will always be there to reckon with. Let it basically inspire you in all your future endeavors. Maraming salamat po, and good day to all.
And that's it for our webinar today. Thank you again for our panelists for sharing your time and insights with us. Thank you, Arlene, Attorney Jorans, and Sir Chito. Thank you once again for being part of the Inquirer Project Rebound webinar series presented by the Philippine Daily Inquirer.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to our viewers. We'd also like to thank Inquirer.net, Mega Mobile, and Inquirer Academy. Continue reading the Philippine Daily Inquirer for authoritative news and features. Once again, I am Royale de Vera of Inquirer Lifestyle.
And I am Doris Dimlao Abadilla from Inquirer Business. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
The Philippine Daily Inquirer would like to thank the following sponsors for making this live stream event possible. Aboitiz, a better future. BPI, ready today, ready tomorrow. Coca-Cola Beverages Philippines Inc., sustainable operations making a difference across a total beverage company. Citi. Medicard, prescribed by doctors. Toyota. We'd also like to acknowledge the organizations that have partnered with us. Thank you to... We'd also like to thank Inquirer.net, Mega Mobile, and Inquirer Academy.
Bawas ipon ulit.
Ingat kayo dyan. Meeting lang, ha?
Some things have disappeared. Our hopes, dreams, and passion. Seems like all we have now is anxiety and fear. But no matter what happens, no matter how challenging it gets, we'll have to see it through. Medlife Protect Plus, protection from medical bills and life's uncertainties. We know we can never go back, but we'll find a way forward. Medlife Protect Plus, brave the new world.
Our love was so beautiful, nothing could tear us apart. A picture of forever and promises made from the heart. But memories fade as time slips away. Where does that leave me and you? Tell me how to love you with no more regrets. I'll cherish these moments I'll never forget.
I'll take you there one day.
Promise?
Promise.
I will always remember for us cherish these moments, the memories you'll never forget, the memories you'll never.
I may sometimes forget you here, but never here.
The memories you'll never forget.
Every bottle matters. The journey of plastics goes on and on. When it's reused, recycled, reimagined, and reborn. This is the future of sustainable packaging in the Philippines. As we build the country's largest state-of-the-art bottle-to-bottle recycling facility. Pioneering technology that takes us one step closer to a world without waste. Made possible by one of the world's leading green technology ventures and the world's biggest beverage company. Every bottle matters. We bring you Pet Value, the Philippines' largest bottle-to-bottle recycling facility. Operational by 2022.
Are you thinking of buying a new car that's fuel efficient and environmentally conscious? Why not get a hybrid? During your car search, you've probably come across the term XEV. This stands for Hybrid and Electric Vehicle, pertaining to a range of technologies that use electricity to propel a vehicle. XEVs include hybrid electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, battery electric vehicles, and fuel cell electric vehicles. For this video, we'll focus on the hybrid electric vehicle. A hybrid is the most ideal for your first switch to an eco-friendly car because it is the closest to the regular combustion engine vehicles we're used to. Here's how it works. An HEV uses both internal combustion engine and electronic motors that work together to make your car run in the most fuel-efficient way possible. The internal combustion engine runs on fuel and creates kinetic energy that puts the car into motion and charges the batteries of the vehicle. These batteries don't ever need to be plugged in, which means that an electric vehicle won't take a toll on your electric bill, and you never have to scramble for a charging station. HEV batteries and their management system are durable and smart, which means that not only is the battery designed to last the lifetime of the car, but it also knows to shut off when it comes contact with water. Contrary to popular belief, HEVs do not require special maintenance. Just like any other car, make sure not to miss your HEV's period maintenance and routine checkups to make sure everything stays in tip-top shape. The HEV management system works like a brain, telling the vehicle where to send and get power to save energy for better fuel efficiency. So, as you drive, the power source may switch from your engine to your batteries to save on fuel. When you need extra power, like when speeding or going uphill, your vehicle may turn both motors on. When you are idle, like when stuck in traffic, the vehicle may shut both motors off to save even more energy. This toggling between motors not only saves energy but also helps reduce the CO2 emissions and thus greenhouse gases. This means that you don't have to worry about running out of juice while you're on the road. A hybrid electric vehicle truly brings together everything you want in a car: on-demand power, improved fuel efficiency, fuel savings, lower CO2 emissions, and a smooth and quiet driving experience. All these in one awesome vehicle. So, hop in a Toyota hybrid electric vehicle and drive the future.
Aboitiz Power has been driving change for a better world. It's been a long and challenging road, but with every step forward, we've made sure the businesses and communities we serve have been able to grow and flourish. We envision a world where vibrant communities have built their homes and businesses in a thriving environment. To make that world a reality, we are committed to serving the people by providing a reliable power supply at a reasonable and competitive price, while taking on the responsibility for the growth, wellness, and prosperity of the environment and the many communities that rely on us. Over the many decades we've been around, we've watched the world shift and change, and our success to this point has come, in part, from our constant desire to grow and innovate. The adoption of newer, more efficient, and more effective technologies in the name of progress is a part of who we are and why we're here to stay. Here at Aboitiz Power, we greatly respect the value and importance of the environment. Cleanergy, our brand for renewable energy sources, has become a significant part of our operations, and we continue to be on the lookout for opportunities in the renewable energy space while seeking ways to preserve and enrich the environment. We've long since recognized the incredible potential for kindness, compassion, and community in the millions of lives we've touched over our centuries-long journey. We take great pride in the care and service we provide to these people. To see their communities thriving is our greatest joy and success. Aboitiz Power, driving change for a better world.